Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Welcome to I Didn't Kill Myself This Week. Hello, and welcome to I Didn't Kill Myself This Week. Thanks for coming back and listening and joining us. And we want to say thank you so much for following along this long because it's been really kind of crazy. We've got 3 episodes out at this point, and I don't know. How do you guys feel about the response we've had so far?
I feel like
people.
I feel like it's been crazy, the amount of messages, the amount of people that have watched, the amount of followers that we've already gotten on Spotify, and now we're up on Apple and YouTube, and it's been a really, really cool response because going into this, we started this as being like, oh, this is for fun. I'm just FaceTiming my sisters, but now people are actually they like it, and that's such a wild thing to me. It's cool.
Yeah, I love all the messages we're getting, and people are like, oh, you guys are so strong, so this, but for us, I don't know, I don't feel like it's very abnormal for us. We talk about this stuff all the time on the regular, so it didn't seem out of the ordinary.
It's weird because I guess I've always been maybe a little bit on the oversharing side of things, but a lot of people have been like, oh, it's really brave, and it doesn't feel brave. It does feel a little vulnerable. Because it's coming up in my real life a little bit, and people are asking me about it at work and stuff, and that's different. But I mean, yeah. But I wanted to say a huge thank you, and then we got some questions, so I kind of wanted to go over those, and then this week we're going to talk about parenting and how we were raised a little bit, kind of delve into that. So, few questions. This was a message that we got. So the first one was why I don't drink alcohol. And have I covered this at all yet? I don't think so. Basically, in our family, alcohol has kind of always been a problem, but in phases. And it hasn't been a constant, but sometimes it just seemed like a crutch for even my grandpa. And it was a crutch for my grandparents on my dad's side. And it seems to be something that always is consumed more of, not in a fun way, but in a way of coping and dealing. And so after being a lost Vida, I didn't want to lean into that at all. And I don't want my kids to see me lean on anything. I want my kids to be like, Mom freaking worked her butt off and tried her best without leaning on any substances. And so that's why I don't drink. I love the taste of alcohol. I like fancy drinks, but I feel like depending on where I'm at, there wasn't. Honestly, it was pretty balanced too. I think it's more of just I don't want to end up using it as a crutch. I miss champagne though. Champagne's my favorite drink. Okay, next. How is Vienna feeling about the loss of her baby? I still think of her often. So how are you feeling?
I feel fine, considering. You definitely have your days. Sometimes Tan and I will look at each other and we're like, it's just wild that we should have a baby girl that's September, October, November, December, 4 months old, which is crazy. Such a wild thought. And you think about the little milestones and stuff like that. But I'm hungry. I'm so hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm gonna have to cut this part out. So I will jump back. Sorry, I got interrupted by my kid who's been told to go to bed 12,000 times. So yes, there's just days we look back at what would be milestones, and it does hurt, but you just can't think about it all the time because that doesn't make you happy. So, so you get by. You have to, otherwise you're miserable, and that's no fun. So. But yeah, I'm doing good. And then I don't know I don't think I've given like a little update on like the blood stuff, but I'm still waiting on all of the results, which is insane. It's been weeks, and I had to go back and get another blood draw because they decided to not do half the things I needed.
That's frustrating. You did update an episode or so ago about the blood work and all that stuff.
Perfect.
All right, next question. Both me and Natalia said that we don't remember our childhood and have blocked out memories. Why? Well, our parents definitely didn't get along for most of our childhood. I spent a lot of it with my Nana. And then there was just there was always a lot going on. And like mom went through cancer, our parents separated quite a few times. There was just a lot going on, and
I had other trauma too that really affected things, especially once I started remembering stuff that took a lot of time to function with. And yeah, I don't know, I just think my memory in general just kind of sucks. But there's
Do people remember their childhoods?
Yeah.
That's how
they do. That's the crazy part. Like my husband, he's like, he remembers things from when he was 4, and I'm like, nope. And I don't know if that's like a protection or what, but like Natalia suffered some abuse, which I maybe will cover at some point if she feels willing to share. And then for me and Vienna, yeah, it was just our parents loved us and they did the best that they could possibly do in the circumstances that they were also living in. And I think we're going to talk more about that tonight. So we'll get back to that question. The next question is, do we think our parents' relationship has a lot to do with these things? Yes. Our parents are still together and they've worked very hard to be together. And it still has its ups and downs. But I think that through that, they've set a really good example of what to do and what not to do at times. And then we have, will our parents watch this? And are we prepared to speak of things that might not make them happy? Yes. So they've been watching up until like the first 3 episodes. And actually, we're going to have maybe both of them, but definitely our mom on because she lost her firstborn daughter as well. So there's a lot that she relates to with Vienna and what she went through. And then she's also just been through a lot in her life as well. And then that's it for the questions. So now we can delve into tonight's episode, which is going to be about how we were parented and how we were raised and what we've learned from that. And Vienna, you were kind of talking about something before we started, so why don't you jump back into that?
Yeah, so I saved this because I saw it and I saw it on TikTok and it says, from a trauma therapist, here are 13 things that you do screams childhood trauma. And we had planned that we were going to do this episode, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of curious like what this says, because we're doing it on not, I want to say childhood trauma, like maybe for you guys, but like I have never felt that is like, I don't think of me as having childhood trauma, though I know it. My body probably knows that's what it was, but I'm like, la 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 la, like, you know? Anyways, I'm gonna read this.
What?
It's what gets me through, okay? So I'll read these, and I'm literally like, wow, this is me, and I feel like you guys might be able to relate too. The first one is over-apologizing. A lot of times that comes from growing up in environments where you had to tiptoe around people's emotions, so you'd rather take the blame preemptively than deal with conflict. 2, not accepting compliments. Oh, this little thing, I just threw it on. It wasn't that great. Anyone could have done it. When you grew up not feeling seen or validated, it can be hard to believe that praise is genuine or even that you deserve it, so downplaying yourself becomes second nature. 3, avoiding asking for help. You'll carry 5 grocery bags in each hand and struggle all the way up the stairs rather than asking someone to give you a hand. This usually stems from feeling like a burden or not wanting to owe anyone anything, a mentality that's often survival based. 4. Over-explaining. Sending a text explaining every reason why you can't make it to something or find yourself giving 5 back-to-back justifications for something small. It's as if you're trying to prove that your reasons are valid enough, which can come from feeling like your needs weren't enough on their own. 5. Hyper-independence. This can look like never letting anyone get close or needing to do everything yourself when you've been let down or disappointed, especially at a young age. Independence becomes a shield. It's almost like thinking, if you can't rely on anyone, I won't get hurt. Overthinking every interaction. There's a 13, so I'm just gonna read like the top rather than the explanations now. So overthinking every interaction. Sorry?
Oh, I was just gonna say you don't need to explain them. We get it.
Yeah. Overthinking every interaction. People pleasing. Feeling guilty for relaxing. We just talked about that the other episode.
Mhm.
Difficulty setting boundaries. Dismissing your own feelings. Constantly worrying about being too much or not enough. Fear of abandonment. We just talked about that too. Overworking to prove yourself. And I read these all and I was like, wow, I've never been summed up so well.
Literally,
So sad.
yeah. Today I was saying, my productivity is not my worth. My productivity is not my worth. Because sometimes you're like, and it's weird that we have these things and it's not, you know, it wasn't intentional on our parents' part,
No.
right? Like
Or like even my boss, I was doing good. I got a gift from her and I was like, oh my goodness, I don't deserve this. And then I got my period and then I got sick and I wasn't doing as much as I felt like I should or needed to kind of like say thank you or just like be a good person or employee in general. So I sent her like a ridiculous text. I'm so sorry. And she's like, you're absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, it's just like so silly to feel that when you don't always have it in you to do all the things.
Mm-hmm.
I believe her boss, the older sister, was like, just message her. You're being crazy. Get the validation, communicate, because there's nothing worse than suffering in that. Like,
Well, she didn't see it till the morning, so I did suffer all night.
um, that's, yeah. So, okay, but then you were talking about mom today as
Oh,
well.
yes, yeah.
Right?
Yes, so in which kind of validated that she realized that how we were raised did affect us because there is it kinesiology, Arlene? Anyway, so she's going to therapy and she's like, I really want you to go see her. And she's like, I'm going to pay for it so you can see her. She's like, I just really want you to be able to raise your kids and have them not feel the way that I've made you guys feel. And that makes me feel really sad that she says that and like realizes that. But also, I really appreciate that she knows that. But no, like we all still love her, so like there's nothing that's made us not love our parents. They're the best and they've done their best. But yes, there are certain things that have caused childhood trauma, I would say.
Yeah, and like knowing that mom said that, it just like almost makes me love her more. Like just taking that little bit of accountability. And we know we like sometimes you look at it and you're like, oh, they tried their best, but like, but like no, mom right now is just like freaking killing it at life. She's putting in all the work. She's doing so good, and I'm so proud of her. Like it's really awesome.
Mm-hmm. It was really,
Yeah.
sorry, Z.
No, she's doing. I mean, I shouldn't say she's doing this now. Mom has always put in the work. And I think that there's just been always so many other things happening that it maybe didn't have the progress, or maybe she didn't have the time to actually delve into some of the things that maybe she needed to delve into.
Maybe she wasn't ready either.
Or ready. Because I think, too, like, if you ask about certain things, it's like it's overwhelming, and you think, okay, what's wrong with my childhood? And to pinpoint something specifically is hard. It just, so, but mom has always like gone and taken a class on parenting, gone and tried to figure out how to make the marriage work. Like she's always done that. And right now she's just, I feel like, in a space where she's ready, which is so cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was really sweet. Like, she's always written us girls separate, like, letters or notes or cards, and she'd written them for the girls a few weeks ago, but she mailed it to me and gave us a little card, and it's sweet. It's really nice. Yeah.
It's true, actually. Our whole life, mom has always given us handwritten notes.
I remember in 3rd grade, we got into a fight in the morning, and man, I was a savage little shit, and I was like purposely trying to hurt her. I remember feeling that morning. And then at school, when I came in after lunch, there was a card and some chocolates and this little bunny that I still have. And she just wrote like an apology, and and it had such a big impact. I was like, she didn't have to do that. I remember being so mean, and like that just made a world of difference. Just showed how much she cared.
Yeah.
I think it's so, like, sitting here, we're like, yeah, we're going to talk about our childhood traumas, but I feel like the three of us, have been really good our adult lives focusing on the good.
Yeah.
And I feel like we lean on the good. So it's so hard to be like you said, Zena, pinpointing and knowing exactly. Because I'm like, well, yes. Like, I remember times where I'd go over to Auntie Allison's because they'd be fighting and be loud, and you guys would send me there, and it would be better as like a safe place, or down to Nana's, because for people listening, we grew up in a fourplex, and it was really special to me. I felt it was really special growing up like that. So my Nana and Papa downstairs, we were upstairs, and on one side, Auntie and Uncle were on the other side, and then just renters. But
And at one point we had another auntie underneath too.
Yeah,
actually. Yeah.
crazy?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Weird. Hey, you don't remember childhood things. Well, I can think of some things that could be traumatic-ish.
Yeah.
Go for it. Okay. You want me to hold this for you?
I'll hold it.
Okay.
I'll hold it. So one thing I remember about when our parents were separated, sorry, thank you, is Dad would try and bribe us to live with him. He would give us a breakdown of what he made, what I guess his assumption was Mom would make, what he had to pay for child support, and he'd say, like, if you live with me, I'll get this much money back, I can get you a phone, and then I can give you an allowance. And that has always enraged my soul. Like, I just was like, oh, I was mad at him for that. So I remember that very clearly. Or like getting our own rooms. Oh, if you come and stay here, you get this room or you get that. So there was that. That was fun. What was another thing? Mom would complain to us about Dad like we were one of her best friends or adults, and we weren't at that time. And that's even started to change now, where she doesn't complain to us as much about Dad, because she would complain to us and then she'd tell Dad not to complain to us because we were her friends, which was also not great. Those are just the first ones that pop into my head. What is your face? Well, I don't.
It's just funny because I don't like talking about it. Isn't that weird? Like,
No, it's not weird.
It's not weird. I don't think it is, but it's like, and then I think about the circumstances they were in, and then the feelings that I would have in those circumstances, and how hard it would be not to do that. But it's funny because it also makes me think of when I got married and the discussion that we had before we got married. That was like, we will never separate. Like, if we ever are not together, it will be a very conscious choice that we will never be together again because something horrible happened between us, but not separating because there were so many things that happened when they were separated. It was so hard. Never mind choosing, like,
Especially when you have kids.
yeah, but like choosing which parent's house to go to and who, like, and then there was like what parents more lenient and like where do I get to eat the food that I like, or like all these little normal kid things that you think about, never mind all the other big stuff. But yeah,
I didn't think about those things.
I did. What about you, Vienna?
It's so funny. Like, I'm like, I really have blocked out my childhood because Natalia was talking about that. I'm like, oh, right. Oh, yeah. And oh, right. That happened. Like, I don't think about it anymore. But like you said, it's not normal at all for kids to have that. I mean, it shouldn't be normal, I should say. It probably is very normal in the world. I feel like more and more people are separating and divorcing and stuff like that. But yeah, to me, it's not even an option to be separated. Like, that's just. But also, I am deeply in love with my husband, so it's. I know. I'm so sorry, Talia. I feel very.
It kills me when you guys say that. It kills
I know,
me.
but I don't. It's nothing against your ex. Was not kind. What he agreed to when he married you was he did not follow through with. Whereas my relationship is good and healthy, and I love Tanner, and we argue like normal people, but I wouldn't change anything about him, and I just, like, it's so for us, it doesn't feel like a normal. Go ahead.
Well, I agree with Natalia to the extent that, like, you just shouldn't have gone back a long time. I know there was more to it. That's the thing. There's so much more to it, and every relationship is different. So like, it's not fair for us to say that.
My goal when I got married as well was to never separate. Okay? And then it happened 3 times. But hopefully the next time that will not be the case, and I will be very much in love with my husband, and we'll be together, and it's gonna be great. But yeah, that's never anyone's goal going into a marriage. And mom and dad, I always looked up to them for how they did stick it out, and they had really strong values that have kept them together, and it is beautiful that they are doing it and they're doing better now than they ever have. But yeah, I think there's definitely a time where, some people need to separate and divorce eventually.
I agree. Okay, so, I may have lost my thought. Okay, mom, dad separating. Zini, you go ahead.
I was just gonna bring it back to like the traumas, and I thought of one. So, mom and dad had been fighting relentlessly for a bit. Now, I don't know how old we were. We were little though. I think like we were in. I don't know if I was in a car seat, but you two were. And mom packed us up in the middle of the night and was like, "We're gonna go somewhere fun." And we were going to be allowed to jump on the beds at the hotel. I think it was a memory of mine. Like, it was an enticing thing to be told. And so we got packed up and we were going to go to a hotel and get some separation from the situation, I assume. And we actually got hit by a drunk driver that night.
In a semi.
And in it. Really?
No, it was a semi truck that hit us. We were in the van.
And he was drunk, but it was a semi.
He was drunk though, right? But it was a semi.
Yeah.
And
semi.
That's what I
and that I remember parts of that. I remember being in the hospital. I remember getting a popsicle. I remember taking photos after at our auntie's house for like legal purposes of like all our bruises and stuff. But that was definitely traumatic and definitely not like
I remember seeing the air mask on your face and on Mom's face. Me and Vienna were better because we were in our car seats in the back. And I also remember we got new toys. We each had a new toy, me and Vienna. And then the other thing I remember is the firemen gave us these Dalmatian fireman puppies. Like we got stuffed toys from them. That's my memory of that.
I was the youngest, and I don't remember much from that night at all. Just, I vividly remember the intersection, but that's it. Like, I know exactly where it happened. But I remembered what I was going to say. Natalia was saying that she's really proud of Mom and Dad. And I'm proud of them now but I was not for so long. And there was a point, I think I was in grade 7 at this time, and they were getting back together at this point, and I was so angry at Mom at the time for getting back together with him. I was like, why are you doing this? Like, this is going to be hell. And then again, I think they did separate one more time after that. They did.
Yeah, that was right after Nana died.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And we were at the cabin, and Dad slowly made his way.
And I was so pissed. I was like, this is just gonna suck. But
It did suck.
Yeah.
Because at the time, too, it seemed like we were living like a really nice life. I think we're all pretty happy at that point in time. I feel like things were going good. We lived out in the country. We were surrounded by horses. We had a pet buffalo. And then we ended up moving.
Back to our hometown.
Anyways, back to what we were talking about. Yeah, things were good, I think, at that point, and then they got back together again. So I think there was a lot of, I guess, trauma is the right word, around how their like relationship and how their marriage went, how they spoke to each other. I think that our relationship with men and how we wanted to be seen by men was definitely affected by how their relationship went. I think that we actually all ended up being pretty good at having relationships with men and as adults. Like, I'm surprised at how well we're doing in that regard. But I think that there was definitely a lot that went on in our childhood. And it's weird because I look back and I think that people just thought that we were like pretty normal from the outside. But I don't think that we were very normal. And I remember going into, Mom put me in Italian therapy one time.
Ugh, it was awful.
It was awful because at this point in time, it was bad. I would say it was pretty bad. I don't know.
After the first time they separated.
So after the first time they separated, I was in grade 8 when they first separated, and my dad just wasn't really doing that well, and it was a lot for us to deal with. And we went to this therapist, and it was awful. And then I didn't like therapy for a very long time after that. But I was going to say that I had to talk to another counselor, and I don't remember at what point in time this was, but I still think it was during the first separation. And they were like, oh, like, I was 13, and I was taught, they kept saying, like, you're handling this like an adult. You're talking like you're way older than you are. You're trying to take care of everything and speak so, what's the word? Like,
Mature?
peaceably and mature. But I was 13 and I was just trying to like take care of, like, you're trying to protect both of your parents. I don't think as kids you should ever feel like you need to protect your parents and protect your siblings. That's a hard place to be.
Well, I think a big thing, like especially with Mom talking to us about her problems with Dad, we would sometimes, and like, oh, you can't tell them. So we had to be really careful about what we said to each person, try not to trigger the other person, have them get mad or freak out about something. We always had to kind of mediate what you were saying.
I remember Dad would try and question us a lot. Be like, "Oh well, who's Mom had over?" And like, uh, what's she been doing? And this, and that. Like he would always be questioning us to try and figure out like what's she doing.
That's true. We would get like cornered in a room and questioned and questioned and questioned. And that was a lot. And I find that very, very triggering, I guess, now when I see that happen. It's a really big reason why I dislike Natalia's ex.
Yeah, and like the questioning, yeah, sure. But then also like the drinking and how it would change them.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was times where if they drank now, they would change and it would be like purely emotional, but at that time I feel like it was so angry on both sides. They just, well, especially Dad, he'd get like big and just this, like it just changed him, and that doesn't happen anymore, which is, I mean, great, but as much. But at that point, that was such a big thing for myself. I just remember him being big and angry and his face changing. I don't know.
And scary.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
he's
gonna
scary.
say yeah, it was scary. Yeah, and for some reason, I don't know what it was, but I think I lived with Dad a lot more than you guys did, and I don't remember why. Like, I don't remember why I chose to, because he was scary at times, and we did get questioned lots, and I don't know. It must have been the bribing that worked. Me getting my room, or you get this, and I like, because I remember I did have a pink flip phone at one point, so I'm like, maybe that worked. I don't know. I'm trying to remember.
I think it was also a different friend group, too, that you were able to hang out with, and Dad had a very different schedule. And, like, I danced for a really long time, so I stayed busy with dance.
And then I was at our neighbor's house all the time. Their older lady friend who I just went to her house and painted and did baking and
Learned
life
the things. So,
Left me, essentially.
honestly, we talked about this like just not that long ago about like, well, where the F was Vienna in our childhood, because I think you were either with Auntie or at Dad's house a lot, or
With Nana.
I mean later with Nana, obviously. Yeah.
When I think about you and our childhood, Vienna, I just remember us fighting, whether it was over clothes or friends, and or even Taylor, like our cousin. Like, I don't remember you and I ever really getting along when we were younger.
No, I don't remember getting along with you, and and I was mean to you, and and I felt like I was always left out of like your friends. But then we got to an age, like, yeah, it just was a weird dynamic. But also, there's only a year and a half between us, so it's kind of close too.
Yeah, that was a little too close, I think.
And we are very different in the sense I sent Natalia that alphabet, Glinda, alphabet. Like, anybody who knows the TikTok, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's like I'm not popular. I'm not popular, but like the popular one and the one that's more different. And I would say that is kind of how Natalia and I were growing up. Like, she was more, not eccentric, but I mean, she hung out with an old lady. That was her best friend.
I was a little bit on the odd side, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, even with my animal choice, and I purposely listened to music that was different just to be different. I wanted to be different. Yeah. So yeah, we were definitely opposites growing up.
You were different. You had like tarantulas and snakes and salamanders, and you wanted short hair. Like, you made conscious choices to stand out, which is so cool. I think now raising kids, I'm like, yeah, you want to be different? Let's freaking be different. Like,
yeah.
But it's so weird. This is very crippling for me. This whole conversation. I'm like,
Yeah.
if we're being candid and open, I find it very hard.
I know I don't
to talk about, and I feel like Natalia could bring up more things, and I feel like my face will be like, but
anything more than what I've already said I don't want to say. Like, it just seems mean at that point, and I don't want to be mean. It's not.
Yeah, I feel like if anyone personally wanted to reach out and ask about certain experiences due to what they're dealing with or just to talk, I would be totally available for that. But I think just in general, like, it's actually quite
It's hard because
hard, especially because we love our
yeah,
parents.
yeah,
And I would never want them
to be
to be hurt
yeah,
by anything that we've said.
or for someone to look at them differently because of what we're saying, because they shouldn't, because they've
No.
only done their best. So it's a hard topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, I read it or saw it or whatever, but it was like, we're all parenting for the first time.
Even with each child, because we're all so
With
different.
each child, we're all so different. Even seeing that with my sons, they're so different. So I have to approach it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with having 3 daughters that all have big personalities, and just the amount of like stuff that happened growing up, like constantly, that they did the best they could with the tools that they had. And I'm sure there's times that things could have been bad. But honestly, the same goes for us as parents now. Like, it's not like we're all trying our best at each stage that we're in.
Are we going to say more, or are we going to talk maybe more about your guys' parenting now?
We can talk about our parenting. That sounds more comfortable. Parenting is hard. This morning I had to, you need to hold this so I can show them the hand example that I did for my son today. So Vienna, this morning, we're in the bathroom getting ready for work, and Killian has been screaming nonstop. And B was singing opera and playing with this stupid toy that I bought, which makes me even more mad because I brought this stupid thing into our house. But it's a car, and it goes back and forth, and then makes all these sounds and makes more sounds on top of sounds. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so K is screaming, B is singing opera, which is amazing, and playing with this toy, and I was like, that's it!
Sensory overload.
I can't. Right? Recently, I've been very angry, Vienna. I broke some things. Have been having temper tantrums. I'm gonna go to a doctor. um, so B, you gotta stop. I said, with all these sounds, with your car, with your singing, I said, I need you to pick one. I can handle if you sing. I can handle if you play with your car. But if you do both, it makes mommy's brain go like this. And when mommy's brain is going like this, do you know what that makes her feel like? And he's looking at me. I'm like, angry. It makes mommy angry. It's like, so if you want to do both those things, you need to go into your room, and you can do that, or you can be in here and you can either play with your car or you can sing. So he kind of like went to his room for a few minutes, and then he came back, and then he got up on the stool, and he's like, I'm gonna sing for you. And I was like, okay, that's perfect. But like,
and then later his car went off, and he's like, oh, sorry, mommy. And Zena's like, no, it's okay, because Killian's not screaming right now. It's not too much. It's okay. Like, don't worry.
I think it's, I don't know, like, we've worked really hard on like I'm teaching him, like, you embarrassed me, that made me uncomfortable because I hated feeling embarrassed as a kid, and he gets embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been talking about that, because instead of saying that, he gets angry and lashes out. So we've been working on that. And what else? I feel like we're just working on like labeling emotions. You hurt my feelings when you said that.
4.
And he's 4. So it's like, there's a lot of things he understands. He walks up to me and he's like, Mommy, are you frustrated? And I'm like, but I'd rather him have an understanding, or like be able to understand why I'm getting frustrated, instead of just like, oh, Mom just freaks out all the time. Because
I don't think we understood so much as to why.
yeah, I didn't understand. Sometimes I still don't understand. I'll be like, why the hell am I so flippin' angry? And then I realized that the fan is on in the kitchen. And then I turn it off and I'm like, oh God, that's so much better. So it's like, it's funny how we're figuring things out as an adult, and I just want him to have the tools to deal with that kind of
Yeah.
stuff sooner. Because for whatever reason, I want to break anything that gets in my way right now. So, it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
You talk about your parenting now.
Yeah. On the topic quickly of the kitchen fan, Tanner, every time I cook, he's like, put the kitchen fan, like, put the fan on, put the fan. I hate fans. And, like, it is the one thing that drives me bonkers. I will take the smell of food over that stupid fan. Exactly, like, when you said when you turn off, it's just like, oh, it feels so, it's the best. It's the best. I feel, yeah, like, it's like an angry sound to me, which is funny because I like white noise. I like, but that is just like a thing that's a hard no for me. Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah. You guys both have like sound machines in your room. I can't even handle the sound of Mom's fountain outside. That drives me nuts. And I can't put things over it to drown that out because that would make me also nuts. Like, I'm the kind of person where if I'm looking for something or thinking about something, I'll have to turn the music down because my brain's not working loud enough. I don't know. It's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know what that has to do with our childhood, but it affects how we treat the children.
It really does affect how I treat everyone, actually, especially, well, anybody, but my husband and my children, because I get like it's like a sensory overload. And now like they sell headphones, like those loop things, and I'm like, do I need those? But then the problem is my hearing's not even that good. So then I feel like I can't hear anything, and being able to not hear gives me anxiety. So it's a hot mess. But what about what's your parenting stuff, Fiona?
So
What are something you're working on?
Ainsley was born, I was very pro like gentle parenting. And I feel like I did a really good job up until he was like 3. And I'm not saying I don't feel like I'm a bad parent now. I just parent differently than what I had thought I had planned. He gets pow pows now. Don't call child services on me. I'll find out who you are. But he gets pow pows now. But I still like Zena said, I think there's just like a time and place for that. Obviously, it's not like a constant thing. It's a lot better than what I got. I got hot sauce, cold showers, locked in closet. What else, guys? Soap in my mouth. Lots of pow pows, wooden spoon, belt. Oof. And you know what? Not even pow pows. Those were spankings. When I say pow pow, it is very light. Okay, my baby.
I love pow.
Yeah.
It's like, listen.
It's where they turn around and they're like, that didn't hurt that much.
I didn't even feel that,
Yeah.
Mommy. You're like, you're gonna feel it in a second.
Yeah. But no, I feel like we talk about our emotions a lot now, and especially like post FIDA, it's been a lot easier to do that. I feel like, in a sense, like that, I don't want to say trauma, but that trauma to him has made him grow, and he uses his words more, which is really nice. But I'm also trying to get him to learn to use his words more, like you said, because I feel like we didn't necessarily have that. We had more like anger and punishment, I'd say, growing up. So I really try and avoid that. And I always try and get down like at level with him and speak to him and be like, okay, do you need quiet time? Do you want me out of your room? Or like, what can we do to solve this? Because you're being a jerk to mommy right now. Or I'm trying to think of more like references. Go ahead, Ted.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm just the anti. Is it too high still? This better?
She'll tell you.
You good? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just the anti, but I definitely feel like there's times where you guys are way too patient. And I know I've come in with both of you and I've been like, okay, that's it. I'm taking you away from mom and we're going to go in your room and I'm shutting the door and you're going to, when you stop crying, then we can talk. Like, I don't know. I feel like you guys are very good, very patient parents because I don't even have to deal with it all the time and I don't have the time for it. Also, don't treat my sisters like that. Because then you get locked in your room.
That's actually one thing that I love that I learned through social media is I saw someone say like it was it to their sister, their friend, and they like told the kid like you don't treat my friend like that. You don't do that to your mommy. You don't treat my best friend. You don't treat my sister like that. And I have always really loved that because sometimes they look at you and they're like, oh, it's even upsetting you, or I shouldn't be doing that to my mommy. Like, that's upsetting her. It's hurting her feelings. And I really appreciate that. And I also do appreciate when you come in because I think we have to be so patient, or I try my best to be so patient because there are times when we do break, like where we hit our breaking point, but then we feel so guilty afterwards. So I hope that one day our kids do appreciate the patience that we've had and that
I will remind them for you.
yeah, I don't know. I really hope that he appreciates our parenting styles because I'm very patient. I would say Tanner is more on the strict, and more. He's not bad at all. He's a really good dad, and he is still very patient. But I would say he's stricter than I am. Less patient, stricter, both.
He's a bit more short.
Yeah, yeah.
When something happens, he just says stop that right away rather than, oh, try it this way or do it quieter, giving them a chance kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say one of the tools I've tried to teach myself, but also with the kids, and I hear a lot of other moms doing this too, is like breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're super upset, just breathe. And like you were saying, getting on level with your kids. I will like sit and wait for them to like have their freakouts, and sometimes I'll just sit and like for them, like just hold them while they're angry at me, and then they're not if they're like pulling away and they want to go away, like that's fine. But I think I think our mom was so overstimulated with life and everything too. Sometimes like we didn't have that that closeness and like cuddly like ness in our life.
Mm-hmm.
Like it actually when I see super super affectionate parents, it actually bothers me sometimes, and it shouldn't. And so I'm trying really hard to be affectionate like that. Like it's actually a very conscious effort that I have to make. I remember seeing like parents kiss their kids and be like, what in the heck is wrong with those families? And even my kids be like, give me a kiss, because like they'll kiss other people, and I kiss them on the cheek, and it's such a that's a thing that I have to work on. Yeah, here you go.
Well, I just want to say, because I kiss the kids on the lips all the time. I love kissing people on the lips. But, sorry.
You do.
It just makes me think of Auntie.
Yes.
What?
I'm just cracking up because you're like, I love.
I know, I'm super hoe, but no, I mean in like a loving, genuine Italian way,
Yes.
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. No. And yeah, you think of Auntie.
Yeah, because Auntie was always so soft and so sweet and so affectionate, and it's weird that you didn't get.
I never get to kiss Auntie on the lips.
I guess
either.
you were more with Nana, I feel like, and we were more with Auntie at the time with growing up. Nana was a little bit slower in age and stuff, so we spent a lot of our time with Auntie compared to when you were younger. And like that's also something I think about. Oh, two thoughts I had. One was on how social media kind of helps parents a bit more nowadays because there's all these tips and tricks out there that our parents didn't have. They would have to like get a book, read a book. How many people have the time, energy, or money to get books and read them all the time? No one. But then, yes, I had the thought about Auntie and how she was always soft and sweet. She was very huggy, very kissy, and like just soft. Like I still remember when Auntie would come wake me up versus when Mom would wake us up. Like I would be so excited for when Auntie got to come wake us up because it was sweet and soft and quiet. Whereas Mom would turn on the light, throw off the blanket, say, "Get up!"
Oh, yeah.
The gentle, soft rub on the face, like, yeah.
It's a happier way to wake up. So nice. And so I always try and remember that now with the boys, just to be softer with. Not
I think I wake them up like that now. Not even like like I don't even think about that, but I do it because of Auntie. That's true.
like your side of the family, they would talk about how them as siblings, when they wake up, they're miserable, they need their time to wake up and stuff. But all three of us girls, if you wake us up, we will be happy, nice, cheery people because that's who we had to be when we were woken up. We didn't have the option of being a grumpy child, otherwise we would get in big trouble. And so it's funny seeing that now, like that people even notice it and are like, "You're so happy when you wake up and kind."
Yeah, you can literally wake any of us up at like 3 in the morning. And we're like, "Oh yeah, what do you need us to do?"
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't. Is that a trauma response?
I think yes.
But it's like all three of us, and like people comment on it. That's so true. Yeah,
That's funny. I've never thought of that, but yeah, the way I wake King up, the way I brush his hair, the way I wash his hair in the bath to make sure he doesn't get like any soapy water. Like, I'm always very careful and cautious, and yeah, I find myself to be more like Auntie now, for sure. I try my best to be soft and kind, and um, obviously every mom has their moments, but yeah, I don't know.
yeah, and it's true. I did spend a lot of time with my nana, which is I've never cried since she's died about her, which I think is probably something that might be wrong with me. Speaking of childhood traumas, because I spent a lot of time with her. And like my favorite things to do in life now are like what I would do with Nana, which is sit and have tea and visit. And it is my favorite thing to do. And I like my tea the way that she likes it. Well, that's not true. She would think that me putting honey in it is awful, but you drink orange pekoe tea with milk and sugar. I do milk and honey, and you have toast with cheese on it. And like that to me is just bliss. I think that's also why I was maybe acted a little bit older. Spent a lot of time with Nana. Yeah.
I always think about tea time with Nana, and she ended up making this little box for us once we got older to put phones in. So didn't have our phones. It was tea time with Nana. It would be she had these special cups, and all of us would sit and visit and have our deviled eggs.
I'm gonna be such a middle child here in this. When I think about tea time with Nana, I don't have as good of a memory of it. Like it's I think of the fact that she'd ask how our day was after school. I felt like everyone got to say their piece, and then I would try and tell a story, but it was so drawn out. She would cut me off and say, "Okay, no, we're moving on. Someone else talk," or something like that. And I would always get cut off because I was a storyteller and remembered stupid random details, as I still kind of am. And so I didn't have good feels about tea time. I preferred when Nana was teaching me how to crochet. That was lovely.
That's so funny. So funny. Because I don't remember that. I do remember you being annoying though. But that made me think of just another thing. Like slow talkers, storytellers is a pet peeve of mine to this day. So,
And you married Quinn.
I did.
I mean, and you married a person.
It's fine. Oh man, this has kind of gotten all over the place, but I hope that everyone has enjoyed this lovely time we've spent together. Vienna, you want to wrap it up?
Thank you for joining us. We are so thankful for you all, and we're so sorry for this wild episode that has been a roller coaster just like our lives. We're so glad you're here this week and haven't killed yourself. Yeah, we hope you're doing song.
Song. We forgot the song.
I knew it. Chris Stapleton, Fire.
Oh,
Yeah, I've been listening to his
she was
album.
prepared.
Yeah, I thought about this because I was like, I usually, but like his album is just so good. His voice is so good. Also, White Horse by Chris Stapleton. Just Chris Stapleton this week. I've been loving.
I've been loving on the Red Clay Strays again continually forever because I want to go to their concert, but it's too goddamn expensive for me.
Really?
But Disaster by them, I have just been really loving.
I've been listening to a song called Blow by Sosa UK and Kill Ali. I wouldn't say it's like it's about cocaine, so but every time it comes on I'm like,
We've never done it, any of us.
No.
Or as far as I know.
no.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I'm like, maybe Vienna, if anyone is Vienna.
I have not done Blow. No. And I have no interest in it. There's some people that say that they would like to try it, and I'm like, it's not an interest of mine ever. Gross.
Yeah, it sounds it gives me the anxieties, but yeah, thank you for joining us and have a lovely week. Don't kill yourself. We love you.